Hi, this is Stacia, and it's time for another training game, of course. I'm on a mission. I want to get to 1800, and so I haven't been playing these training games lately. Like, I had a backlog that I've been posting consistently, so that's good. But I feel like I'm a little out of practice, so I'm forcing myself to be like, because I'm kind of scared that I'll lose my rating points again because I'm feel rusty, but I'm gonna just force myself to push through that. That's all you can do in chess. If you feel rusty, the worst thing you could do is not play more, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and play and sip my red wine as I always do. Cheers. And we're gonna look at this game and see what we can learn. So, okay, I played a 1700 player, which is good. Those are the players I want to face. He played e4, and I had the black pieces, and I went d5. I hesitated before d5. This is the new move in my opening repertoire. I used to play knight f6. So, as you might imagine, I can get some very different positions. And sure enough, c4. So, here I'm playing the Queen's Gambit accepted. And I haven't studied it much, although I did buy the course, the Lifetime Repertoire by Sopika, Anish Giri's wife. And it's quite good. I'm really excited, but I don't know much yet. So after e3, I know this is one of the less testing lines. This is what I used to play as white. I go knight f6. They took the pawn, which is why you play e3, to just take back as soon as possible. And here I went e6. I'm not sure what the right move is. I might be able to play a6, and I am going to open the opening book at this point. Okay, I think last time I had this position I played a6, which is fine. You're just proceeding with your a6, b5, bishop b7 plan. But e6 is probably better, just to avoid any d5 stuff, I think. So knight f3, and here I did remember that you should go c5, and that is what I played. So the point of c5 is that white probably shouldn't take this because they'll end up in an endgame that's not that great for them since the king moved and now we take back. This position's totally fine for black. So I did remember that c5 is correct. And this is, a very desirable pawn break for us. Now we can play knight c6 without blocking the pawn. And we challenge the center. It's a good move. So I like c5. They castled. And now I can offer that endgame one more time, I remembered. But after this, I don't think I should anymore. So I played a6. I wonder if this is the move. Yeah, a6 is the move. I also thought about knight c6, but I was kind of wondering about something here. What was it? I don't recall what it was anymore. I was worried about something. Wow, I don't recall. Good memory. All right, but they castled, so again, like they could do the endgame, but I think this time. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, a6, because I can offer this endgame again. This time the rook will come to the center, so it's still fine for black, but it's a little more risky. Wow, the heat came on and it's getting hot in here. Hang on a second. Just gonna crack the window. It's like 20 degrees outside, so I think that it'd be nice to get some fresh air in here. Alrighty, so they castled. I played a6. Apparently this is a good plan. I want to play b5 with tempo and then place my bishop on b7, just like I mentioned before. And knight c3 was played. Sometimes they play a4. I think a4 is the normal move, yeah. So I'm looking at the opening book, and it does like a4, just shutting down this plan. And then here, I should just go knight c6. And even here, they shouldn't take the endgame. They should just go knight c3. And the way this normally goes is bishop e7, queen e2, and only then c takes d4. Because finally, it's not a good ending for us anymore. The queen has stepped off the d file. So we would take here. White typically goes rook d1. Now the pawn is pinned to my queen. And then we go e5. Wow. So that move I didn't know. And then takes. Wow, so this results in an IQP position. Yeah, and I have no idea if this is in Sopika's course, but as I study it, I'll be sure to share what I learn along the way. This is far from my last Queen's Gambit accepted. Okay, I'm going to turn up the volume just a tad. So in the game, is this what happened? I feel like that's not what happened. Oh yeah, they didn't play a4. So a6 and they went knight c3. So they're allowing b5. I did have some flashes of like, hey, what if they go, you know, takes, check, bishop check like Morphy does? But I really thought, you know, I can't be worse after bishop e7. It must be fine. I don't see any craziness. Even after queen a4, I just feel like I should be able to hold this somehow. Kind of easily. Maybe bishop e7 castles. I don't see any like major threat. Even my knight is guarding this and there's no bishop g5, so I thought that was fine. And turns out I was correct. So b5. And they went bishop e2. So I feel like my opponent's playing this, you know, pretty passively, just kind of the way I used to play chess, to be honest, back when I was a d4 player. So I know that to be a little passive now, and it's not so hard for black to equalize. So probably here I should just develop. I went knight c6. The main move is bishop to b7. Yeah, I think in hindsight, I like this move a little better just because we know that where the bishop wants to go, but we're not sure where we want to put our knight. We might put the knight on d7. So this is a little bit committal, not much, mind you. Okay, and then they decided to go for an endgame. So I took queens and we went here. There's only 5 master games in this line, and it actually scores slightly, well, it looks like it's either there's no black wins at all. But that's not too surprising. This game does get very dry. Sorry for you guys. But okay, I want to turn the engine off and explain. Oh no. All right, that probably screwed up the board. Hang on a second. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Now let's resize. Okay, so sorry about that, but when you put it on self-analysis, it sometimes enlarges the board a little bit. Okay. So I did take and then take the pawn, of course. So I'm only 1 tempo away from castling. So I think, you know, I must be totally fine here. And if anything, I would think white has the tiniest edge. So let's see. Well, I guess it's more than a tiny edge. Could have fooled me. But maybe I am a little bit more behind in development, so. Okay, but then my opponent played a3, so. Yeah, if you're trying to like take advantage of your slight lead in development, you don't play a3. So I got to castle and b4, and I played bishop e7 because, well, I don't know that staying on this diagonal is going to help me. So And I didn't really want to put the bishop on a7. Although probably that's fine. Actually, I am kind of curious what the computer wants the best. No, it likes bishop e7, followed by bishop e6. So, okay, I mean, it's guarding the knight. I had a feeling this bishop's coming here, so it's not so bad to have a bishop that could challenge that. Yep, and that happened next. So bishop e7, and you know, at this part of the game, I mean, look at the position. It's like, it's very symmetrical. I'm like a tempo behind, maybe 2 tempos behind. So like they played h3, another waste of a move if you ask me. And now I put my rook in the center. And now, so I am somehow 2 tempos behind because it's white's turn and it looks like they played an extra move, but it's also their turn. So 2 tempos to me is worth about 0.6. So, but they played, you know, 2 not so great moves. So I'm going to guess that the computer says plus 0.3. And now I'm going to see. Wow, I was wrong. It says plus 0.01. So I guess black's just totally equal here. And that's nice to see. And it might be because, well, what do you do as white to get an advantage here? I don't really see a way. You don't really want to trade rooks. It's hard to move the knights. There's no pawns to push. I mean, I guess if white wanted to try for something, they could try to play e4. But I don't even know. So, okay, in the game, rook ac1. Now I was very tempted to just take on d1 because probably they should take with a rook. And then that's a waste of a tempo. So I did that. I think that's the best move. Let's see if it is. It's fine. Rook a to c8 is better. All right, well, takes, and rook d8. All right, so, I mean, this is going to go into an endgame clearly, and it looks pretty even, but this is chess, and, you know, at the grandmaster level, they'd be like, you know, especially GM Feingold, he would say something like, boring, this is a draw. But at the club level, you know, this is not a draw. This is a game of chess and anything can happen. All 3 results. Knight g5, which I thought was probably not the way forward, but it is hard to find a move for white. So I'm curious what the computer will say about this. It says knight to d2. So avoiding the trade of rooks. And where is this knight going? I'm not entirely sure. Probably the same idea. Come to e4. So in the game, knight g5, but that allows me to kick the knight with h6. And I actually thought this is kind of tricky. I hope I can remember why. Yeah, I do remember. Because if the knight comes to e4, I can take, and then the knight's undefended. And I have discoveries, so I thought I could do maybe, thought I could do this. But I can't. Why not? So if they take back like this, then yes, it works. But it says check. Bishop d8. It's knight d6, I bet. It's knight d6 or knight c5. The knight moves out of danger and attacks a piece. Oh, that's a shame. So I have 2 pieces hanging and white wins. Yikes. I better do some more tactics puzzles. I could tell I've been fuzzy on tactics lately. It's just from not doing any in a while. All right, which I should always make sure to do. Okay, so in the game, he didn't play that, thankfully. He didn't see rook takes rook and knight d6. Yeah, and bishop f8, I think, is probably not the best way forward, but I was having a tough time coming up with a plan here. Like, look at this position. How do you play on from here? Like, I could take the rook. I could do that. It doesn't do much, you know? And I could reroute my knight, maybe. So I thought, I thought maybe I'll Fanketto my bishop, because this is a pretty sweet diagonal. And it would pin this knight. I don't know. So computer wants knight d7 or rook takes rook, followed by knight d7, knight d2, knight b6. Okay. This move's fine though. Probably a lot of moves are fine because there's not that much to do. And now my opponent took rooks because my bishop undefended their rook. Now I have to take with a knight. So my knight's on the back row. So they brought their knight forward. So yeah, this probably constitutes like a slight advantage for white. But it's a game of chess. I just hopped right back. It's like, hey, if you want to trade, go for it. But he did this move, pinning my knight. So it's getting a little bit interesting. But I do think maybe I could... Oh, no, I can't. If I take the knight, I think they are attacking this pawn. And it looks hard to defend. I guess I have knight c4. The bishop would have to move maybe here. A5 is the only hope to save the pawn, right? Because now if they take, I go here. So pretty interesting. They're going to win this though, aren't they? No, I'm on the bishop. So the bishop has to move now. And after that, I can play b4. So I don't understand this part because after takes, computer says, oh, I forgot about the bishop on f8. Okay. Yeah, I'm not looking at the whole board lately, am I? Okay. Anyway, interesting variation that we just looked at. So after this, though, I did not like the looks of knight takes knight, bishop takes bishop. So I played knight d8. It's passive. I want to trade bishops here. And my opponent obliged. They probably shouldn't, to be honest. You should probably just go bishop e2 and say, why do you want your knight there? You know? But he took king f1. I got nervous at this point of the game because that white king has a clear way forward. And if you start to look at the black king, you start to realize that it's not so easy for me to untangle and get my king involved. He's blocked in by the bishop. I can't move the f-pawn. It's blocked by the knight. So, yeah, I didn't really... my pieces aren't really set up for the endgame, which I probably should have noticed sooner. All right, so I play knight d6. And... okay, the king comes up. And it's hard to move here. I can't really go knight d5 or knight e4. I can't move my king. So I was starting to get worried here, but not too worried. And I thought, you know, here, what I need to do is... I actually thought I need to play f6. And if I, like I always say, I teach all my students never play f6, and then I play it every game. F6 though would kick out the knight. That's the main point. And then once he's kicked out, I can occupy the c4 square with my knight. So that was the idea. So I'm getting out of the way the f-pawn. He played f3. Kind of like the plan he came up with here. Okay, I went g6. I want to Fanketto my bishop as well. e4. Okay, that attacks the knight. So the knight moved. So that's what I wanted, right? So I got knight c4. That's an attack on the bishop, and I actually thought I was doing quite good here now because I did see this ahead of time that I'm attacking the pawn and the bishop. It's kind of a fork because if the bishop comes to c1, I thought there was a problem too. What was it? What was it? Oh, it drops the knight, of course. And if the bishop moves here, I can take the pawn. So I see that the computer agrees that white's better now. So bishop a1, he'd rather give up a pawn than a knight. Very good. Okay, so now I need to figure out how to get my king involved and like coordinate my pieces better because they're all like misplaced. The bishop's great. That's about it. And now the bishop's not great. So I missed this move because the knight is backwards defending the e5 square. And this was a clever idea by my opponent, I think, because now that the pawn is on e5, look at these juicy outposts for the knights. And I started to get worried again. So here I played knight to c2. That attacks the bishop. The bishop moved. I won another pawn. f4. So I'm doing really well, but it's still scary to play this position, even though I have two connected passers. So I just have to make sure that they don't completely fall. And if they do, I need to have everything traded off. Okay, so knight c7, knight e4. So he's looking to come in. He's either going to check me or come into d6. However, I do have this square for my knights now. So that's also nice. And I can start pushing my pawns maybe, but I need to be careful. Okay, knight there. g3. Yeah, and I thought bishop f8 has to be played. It just does. If he wants to trade the bishop off at this point, I think I'm pretty happy with that. My bishop's, it's not good on g7. That much is clear. So I either have to trade it or I have to get it active. Yeah, let's see if that was the best move. Yeah, either bishop f8 or a5, and then bishop f8 is played later. So cool. So I was right about this. And knight check. Okay, so white is getting counterplay, basically. I'm up in material big time. Two passed pawns are nothing to sneeze at. But this is counterplay, and it's like, who knows? Will I get checkmated? Like, it's kind of sharp. But if I can untangle, my passed pawns will come to tell. Or even better, trade off everything. So I did trade. Check. King g7. There is no knight e8 check, so that's fine. And now his king is active, so that is a problem for me. I don't think I want to go knight d5. I think that would be a mistake. So I played bishop e7. So I am threatening to win a pawn. So the knight's forced out. And now b4. So I put it there because the bishop's defending. And it freed up a square for the knight. So now maybe the knight can hop around. Hopping around is good if you're taking notes. All right. Yeah, and here he's offering for me to take the knight because then the d-pawn attacks my knight. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's probably... Oh, actually, it is very bad because it would come with check. And that would win my knight. So we don't want to do that. Okay, knight d5. I'm sorry that my analysis is so shoddy lately. I need to pay attention better. Okay, knight d5. I had ideas to jump into c3. I had ideas that if the king moves up, maybe I will check and try to go pawn hunting. I have different ideas, but the knight is basically good on d5. I can also come back here and defend this pawn if I need to. So I was kind of keeping that in mind. It's just kind of hard to defend my pawns. So he disconnected my bishop's defense of the pawn, but this knight is now guarding it. So he did bring his king up, which he probably should. And finally, I get to bring my king up. And I am planning to take the knight because, well, I could either play f6 or take the knight, but I need to get my king into the action. That much is clear. All right, and I guess he decided that now that my king's moved, he should do something more active with his bishop. So I did that just to get my pawn safe. Bishop here. And now I think I should take the knight. Yeah, and the computer agrees. So I'm pretty happy to see that. So I took, and now I have king e8, and I'm going to gobble up this pawn. And guess what? He has 2 attackers on this pawn, but I did see that. If he takes that, I mean, I'm going to come over here, win this pawn, and good luck. You know, his king will end up on a6. And I also have a majority, so that's winning. So I don't think he can take the pawn, and then he surprised me and took the pawn. So yeah, I knew this was losing, and the computer agrees. Wow, it says bishop takes b4 is the best move, though. Yeah, I guess, you know, when your opponent has 2 passed pawns and you can't capture one of them, you're probably lost. So yeah, I don't blame him then. I didn't realize there was no other moves. I also have this nice wall. You know, like the king cannot come in. Oh, I was doing this. No, I mean, he could try to waste time. But if he does this, you know, then I start pushing. So I guess it's just losing, and it was losing the whole time. So I'm glad my technique was correct in that case. So he did take, and I absolutely should take the bishop. There's just no question. And king d7. And I think this is pretty straightforward now, but let's look at it briefly. Okay, I should take the pawn. He takes. And what's the best way to win? I feel like I should play the e5 break. So I prepared it with f6. Computer actually doesn't like it. It likes d5 right away. I wonder if we're just going to go eat everything. So let's try that variation. King e4, king c6, king f3, king here. Yeah, now it says h4. Yeah. So white's too slow. White needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tempi, and I just need 1, 2, 3, 4. So black's clearly winning. And so I didn't have to play f6, but I wanted to break my rule at least once during the game. So f6. King comes up, and now I just played king d4. It's like, you know, he's not going to be able to stop this. And here here my opponent did resign. So yay, I actually got a win. I was not expecting to win today. I feel like my brain was fuzzier in the analysis than it was during the game. During the game, I kind of had it together. And now we're just going to go through the key moments and look at the report. So can you guys see this okay? Yes, you can. Okay. So this says a6 is the last book move. So I guess all these moves were fine. It says knight c4 is best. It's a game changer. Yeah, so this was that fork on the bishop and the pawn. And also the bishop can't leave defense of the knight. Okay, so I won a pawn. Now here white had counterplay, but it never amounted to enough. And wow, so I guess that was it. So wow, the report must be pretty good. Yeah, if you look at the graph, it was basically like white was slightly better until this point here. Wow, this is amazing. So it actually says that white played with 85.2% accuracy. They had 1 inaccuracy and 3 mistakes. And I played with 95.9% accuracy, 1 inaccuracy. That's it. Wow, really? I can't believe that. Like, I seriously felt like I didn't know what I was doing this game. So I'm kind of surprised to see that, but okay. I'm happy. I'll take a win, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yes, I actually came on camera for you, so I hope you appreciate that. Even though I'm analyzing in the dark, because that's my favorite, so too bad. All right, well, thank you for watching, and I'll be back with more chess. All right, bye.